You've come to that part of your life where you are ready to make a move. And someone mentioned Portugal and you thought, hey, that's a cool idea. Maybe I can move to Portugal. Maybe I can get one of those cheap farms that are advertised and start homesteading. But before you get carried away with the romance of the whole thing, there are some deep, searching questions you need to ask yourself. So, question number one that you have to ask is, why Portugal? Why not Croatia? Why not Greece? Why not some other random country? Why Portugal? You need to think about, what are you expecting to get out of Portugal? So it's quite a big question to be asking. Question number two is, why do you want to homestead? Why are you wanting to go farming? Do you have farming experience? So what is the reason? What is your thinking behind it? And you might need to write these things down, because you need to be able to make an informed decision. So, first question, why Portugal? Second question, why farming? Question number three is, how committed are you? Because if you're going to go into farming and you're going to get livestock, animals need to get fed. If you're going to have olive groves, olives need to be pruned. Plants need to be watered. Vegetables need to be planted. You're going to have a lot of chores to do. So, going on holiday might not be easy, because who's going to feed the animals when you go out? So these are all things to consider, like, how committed are you? How good is your relationship if you are in a relationship? Because moving to a new country can sometimes have adverse effects on a relationship. So you got to think about all these things, like your commitment. Which brings me to number four, is how much cash do you have to put into this little farming in Portugal project? Because however much money you think it's going to cost, I reckon you should probably treble that at least, or times it by 10 to be safe. Because there's always going to be things that you never thought of. I mean, most of the farms in Portugal don't have that much infrastructure. If you're buying a farm that's already got infrastructure, then that farm's obviously going to be costing you a lot of money, and you're sweet. But if you don't have that much money to buy the farm, then is cash to put into the farm going to be a problem? Question number 5. What do you actually plan on doing on the farm? Is it going to be a hobby? Are you going to just grow vegetables for yourself? Or are you wanting to go into the whole olive production? Or are you just wanting to chill on a farm and watch the hens lay eggs? I mean, you've got to know what your plan is. Which brings me to number 6. Have you actually developed a 5-year action plan? Because you need to know what you are working towards. And to do that, you have to know what the purpose is of you being there. So number 6 would definitely be to work out an action plan and set out goals and deadlines for yourself. Number 7, have you done your research? Research is a biggie, and it's got to be research about living in Portugal, which includes watching my video series and OK Portugal and our Portuguese homestead, some other YouTubers who are filming their journey of starting a farm in Portugal. And Fonte de Pepa is another one. So I think besides just watching those videos, you've got to research. If it's going to be on how to create pastures, how to prune olive trees, how to point stones, you've got to research thoroughly before you take this step. Question number 8. Is what you are wanting to do legal? So many people have ideas that they are going to start like a motorhome park or a glamping resort or yoga retreat. But in Portugal, there are a lot of laws around these kinds of things. So this goes back to doing your research, but to find out whether what you're wanting to do is legal. Because you don't want to invest money and it's all, it all gets taken away from you. So if you want to find out about some of the laws, there is a link above to a video where we looked at some of the laws in Portugal. Number 9. What are you planning on doing with the produce if you are planning a huge vegetable garden? Because what you have to remember is that in Portugal, most people, especially in central Portugal area, most people grow their own vegetables. So you're not going to have like a huge market for vegetables. So if you are thinking of surviving on selling vegetables, you might need to think of a plan B, which is why it's good to work out an action plan. So think about like your produce. If you are going to be farming livestock, are you going to be doing it for milk? Are you doing it for meat? Are you keeping chickens for meat or eggs? And what are you going to do with what you create? So that's a big one as well. And then number 10, have you factored in the climate for what you want to do? So you might have this great idea that, I don't know, you want to farm buffalo or yaks or something like that, which are like very hairy. And Portugal central Portugal especially gets very, very hot in summer. So that might not be a good plan. So have you factored in the climate and the weather and made allowances for the fact that Portugal can get very, very hot? Number 11. Are you prepared to do things yourself? Because it might not be easy to get people to do it for you. And you're going to have to get down and dirty on the farm. You can't expect to just have laborers that are going to be working for you. You're going to have to be climbing on that roof. You're going to have to be mucking out stables yourself. Are you prepared to do the work yourself? That's another question you need to ask yourself. Number 12. How are you going to generate an income? Do you have lots of savings? Do you have an online income stream? Do you have a pension you're going to be living on? Where are you going to get money from? Because everybody says Portugal is cheap, has a low cost of living, and they're right. But even though it's cheap, you still got to pay for stuff. You still have to live. You're still going to have to buy things. So you can't expect to get absolutely everything from your land. You're still going to have to maintain things, put up fences, buy seeds, etc. So where are you going to get your income from? Have you thought about that? And number 13, have you started to learn Portuguese? Ou fala Português? So, if you're going to go and live in Portugal, you need to make the effort to learn some Portuguese. You know, too many places, like if you go to the UK and you speak in your native language, which might not be English, sometimes people say to you, speak English, you're in England now. Well, people in Portugal don't necessarily do that to you, but they do appreciate people who are making an effort to learn the language, because you want to sort of blend in and make Portugal your home. So, sign up for a class online, start learning the language. And number 14, I have sort of covered before, but have you thought about the infrastructure you are going to need for what you're going to want to do? You need to sort of work out exactly if you're going to get solar system put in, what are you going to need? Where are you going to be getting it from? This is like, of course, tied into your cash and also your action plan and your research. But that's something to be thinking about. What infrastructure is needed? And the last but not least of these questions I think you need to be asking yourself, number 15, where are you going to stay when you first get there? Have you thought about this? Because let me tell you this, unless you are buying a farm with a ready-to-move-in house, and there aren't that many of them, and those are generally a lot more pricier than what you might be looking at. What are you going to live in? Because if there's a ruin there, you can't actually live in the ruin until you've restored it. Yurts need to be set up. You've got to build a platform to put it on, and they aren't necessarily legal. It depends what area you are going to be looking at, or where exactly you are buying. So you've got to be thinking about, where are you going to stay? Are you going to rent a house in a nearby town? Is there a nearby town that has houses to rent? Are you going to bring in a mobile home? Are you going to stay in a caravan? Are you just going to camp in a tent? So you've got to think about where you are going to be staying. So these are not all the questions you should be asking yourself, but these are some questions just to sort of like spark your thinking that I think might be a good idea. So I've decided to share these questions that I've been asking myself and working out the answers to, and I suggest that this might be, if you are seriously thinking about going to Portugal and buying a farm there and moving there, these are some questions you can be thinking about before you make that big move. So, if you can like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, that will be magical. So, have a good one, think about those questions, and I'll see you on my next adventure.